Yo, what's up, guys? We're back for another week of predictions, and this week I'm going to be doing the first episode of Dana White's Contender series. And I don't know if I'm going to be doing all these Contender series. I'm actually probably not going to be doing all of them. But since you have a little bit of a lull in between, UFC fights, UFC events, I'm going to do this one, and it's the first one. So figured it was a good idea to do this one. But first off, we're going to do a little bit of a recap of UFC 225, that epic event last night. I mean, what more can you say? The main event, man, was one of the best fights I've ever seen. It's a little bit sullied, with the decision, a little bit of controversy there. We'll get to that, but I'm going to start, from the beginning of the card because, like I said, it was a great event, epic event if you ask me. And the first fight of the night, Dan Ige against Mike Santiago. And we had a bad read on that one. Dan Ige came in, took care of business very quickly. I think it was like 50 seconds. Went in there at tried to get in on the legs and was able to come up, clip him with the right hand while he was changing levels, and just able to get him out of there real early. Mike Santiago did not look good. That's 0-3 for Mike Santiago, and he's probably going to get cut from the UFC. And for Dan Ige, that was a big win. He was 0-1. And, now he's going to get another matchup. I don't think it'll be a big name, but if he can string 2 wins together, maybe he'll get a bigger profile fight there. And up next to it, Charles Oliveira against Clay Guida. And this one kind of went how I expected. Charles Oliveira actually looked pretty sharp on the feet. When the entrance happened, man, when they were both entering, Clay Guida was making me think a little bit. I was like, damn, is he going to win this fight? Because he was super pumped up. He was, ready to go, but didn't come through in the cage. He kind of got pieced up a little bit on the feet. He got hit with a front kick to the face, got hit with the left hand. And then he kind of, I think, got startled. He was getting pieced up on the feet, went for a double leg takedown. Oliveira grabbed that guillotine right away and, locked it in. And he was able to get a dominant win, able to win pretty easily. And, good win there for Charles Oliveira. And for Clay Guida, that's a tough loss. He had won 2 in a row, coming back to 155. Had a little bit of momentum, and this kind of stunts that whole momentum. And for a guy that's old, was trying to get his career back on track, trying to get maybe a, one last title run, a few more high-profile, bigger money fights, and big blow for Clay Guida's career, in my opinion, man. Big blow for his career, but always going to be a commodity, always going to be someone that comes to fight, someone that's going to bring out, some fans. So definitely think he's going to keep his job. But big win there for Charles Oliveira. He wants to go back to 145. Definitely could see him do some damage there at 145 if he can get his weight together. Does have a recent loss to Ricardo Lamas. But, I think he could do well at 145 and 155, to be honest with you. But up next, we had Sergio Pettis against Joseph Benavidez. And what was it? A fun fight, man. Sergio Pettis in the first round kind of showed, the level of the striking game in comparison to Joseph Benavidez. He was much cleaner, much better with the strikes, much more pinpoint, much more accurate. And he was just slipping those straight punches right down the pipe, really catching Joseph. And, dropped Joseph, had Joseph in all kinds of trouble in that first round. But to be honest with you guys, I thought that Benavidez won the second and third round. It was a very close fight. You can't argue with the decision in that fight. A lot of fights had odd decisions on this card. I know probably a lot of people didn't agree with the main event decision. Neither did I. Actually thought that Romero won the fight. It could have been a draw. It could have been Whitaker winning. I mean, all those scenarios are possible. But, in my opinion, I thought that Joseph Benavidez won the second and the third round. Was a very close fight. I thought Joseph Benavidez was the one going forward, controlling the pace, controlling the action after that first round, kind of getting in the clinch, trying to go for the takedowns. But Pettis had much improved takedown defense. I thought Benavidez looked a little bit, actually much slower with his entries. He did not look, as good as he used to. And maybe it was ring rust, maybe he's slowing down, but Benavidez, I thought, did not have as good a performance. He wasn't getting in on his doubles nearly as fast as he used to. Wasn't chaining together his takedown attempts, but I still thought that he was putting up a lot of volume. He was, doing a lot of stuff, and I thought that he was able to win the second and the third round. But, I definitely understand people that gave that fight to Pettis. It was a very close fight, so. And up next, we had Anthony Smith against Rashad Evans. Kind of sad to see, man, for Rashad Evans. Got time with a knee in the clinch, basically left his head right there for it to be kneed. And, anyone could have seen that coming. Was very surprised that Rashad left his head in that position. Definitely just shows that just not very aware in the cage anymore. Probably not, as sharp with his head, not as into it. And, I feel like Rashad should retire, man. That's 5 losses in a row there for him. And I think Dana White should sit him down, try to talk to him, tell him, maybe he should be better just being behind the desk. So, great career for Rashad Evans. And for Anthony Smith, that was a big win, man. He's won 5 out of 6 fights. He's definitely a finisher. He's an entertaining guy. So you could put him in these fun matchups, especially at 205, a shallow division. And he called out Sam Alvey, in which a fight that I like. I think it's a good matchup for him as well. He's going to be able to, one, pushing the pressure in that fight, pushing the pace. But Sam Alvey always has that one-hitter-quitter, man. So you could side me up for that one. That's not a bad fight. 2 former 185ers going at it at 205. And up next, we had kind of what I thought, man. Chris De La Rocha versus Rashad Coulter. Chris De La Rocha, actually, I picked Rashad Coulter to win. But Chris De La Rocha almost pulled the Homer Simpson, man. He kind of got fucked up in that first round pretty badly. He was getting hammered with big shots. He has a great chin, man. Really tremendous. He wasn't even hurt by any of those shots, man, by Rashad Coulter. I mean, not hurt terribly bad. He was obviously hurt, but big shots by Rashad Coulter early on. Coulter wore himself out, and De La Rocha basically wore himself out too, man. He took him down in that second round. The first round was a pretty good round. It was a fun round. It was a slobber knocker, but first round, he took him down. He was getting on top of him, had basically no energy to finish the fight. It was pretty pathetic. Ground and pound, trying to get the rear naked chokes. And eventually the ref kind of just saved us all from boredom, saved us all from all that, and took De La Rocha off him. Rashad was arguing because he obviously wasn't getting hurt, but he just wasn't doing anything, man. That was a pretty pathetic display by both those guys in terms of cardio. Showed good heart, both of them. They're obviously, not going to take anything away from them. They're, warriors. They get in that cage. They fight for us. And I'll respect Rashad Coulter. I'll respect Chris De La Rocha. But just don't think they're UFC level guys. And, Chris De La Rocha is obviously probably going to get another fight here in the UFC. But who knows? I mean, almost 40 years old. Maybe he'll retire with this UFC win. That could be a good thing for Chris De La Rocha, in my opinion. For Rashad Coulter, 0-3 now. I think he's probably going to get the axe. Probably going to get cut. And up next, we had Mirsad Bekti against Ricardo Lamas, which was our most confident pick Holly Holm was the most confident pick, but he was part of the parlay that we had. I thought he had a pretty good performance, man. I thought he actually won the first 2 rounds very clearly, and actually could have given him the 3rd round as well. I gave the 3rd round to Bekti, but the judge that gave that a split decision. Very, very odd in my opinion. I don't know how you could give 2 rounds to Ricardo Lamas there. I thought it was a pretty clear display by Mirsad Bekti. Good grappling, good scrambles. Was able to walk Ricardo Lamas down, kind of close the distance, stop his kicking game a little bit, and pieced him up on the feet a little bit too, landed some nice punches. But really it was all about him getting in the clinch, getting in the grind, taking down Lamas, out grappling him, winning the grappling positions. And I respect Ricardo Lamas, man. He went for it in that 3rd round. He probably knew he needed a finish. He went for a few guillotines, a lot of submissions in that round, and a couple close calls, but Mirsad Bekti was able to do a good job getting out of the positions and was able to win the fight there. And like I said, he was one half of the parlay that hit once again. So that was a good win there for Mirsad Bekti. I do think that he kind of has a problem with, I don't know what it is, but it's like he'll be winning the fight, dominating the fight, but you always feel like he could get finished at any point in time because he's just being so crazy going in the clinch. I feel like he kind of needs to get better at knowing which positions he's going to win, knowing which positions to avoid at certain times, because definitely against the higher level guys, they could finish him when he starts doing a lot of that weird stuff, like close the distance into that clinch when he should be striking, etc. And up next, we had a tremendous fight, man. I really enjoyed this fight. Claudia Gadelha against Carlos Esparza. And it was a little bit weird, man. I saw that the line was like basically minus 550, and within a few hours, the line dropped all the way to minus 220. And I don't know this for a fact, but Claudia Gadelha did post after the fight that she blew her knee in the first round. And to be honest, I'm kind of thinking maybe she blew her knee previous to the fight, because I don't get why all that money would, come pouring in on Esparza hours before the fight, unless something like that was to happen. But for the fight itself, man, very entertaining. I did think Claudia did look very stiff and plotty. Another reason why I think maybe that could have been the reason why that money came in, and she could have had that knee problem from the very beginning. But, Esparza fought great, man. I thought that if you're judging the fight on damage, Esparza definitely won. She had Claudia doing the chicken dance in the first round, doing the chicken dance in the third round. And Claudia was just able to dominate the grappling, though. She almost had a guillotine at the end of the first round. Really able to put it to Carla in that second round. Really controlled all the takedowns. Really controlled the grappling in that round. The third round, Esparza came out, won the round. Looked really great. And, for Esparza, man, that was a great fight. She really has improved leaps and bounds with her striking since, losing the belt to Joanna. And she's a player, man. She's a fixture right there in that top 5 to top 7. And for Claudia Gadelha, she got the win, but, in my opinion, more of a disappointing performance for Claudia, where she was supposed to be the big-time favorite, supposed to be able to steamroll her opponent here, and kind of had a little bit of a difficult time here with Carla. So, Carla Esparza, even though she lost, I think she ups her profile a little bit here with a great fight. And up next, we had Curtis Blaydes against Alistair Overeem. And, I was wrong about this fight as well. Great fight for Curtis Blaydes. I actually thought that the first round was a, pretty close round for a while. I thought Overeem was winning the round, even though nothing was really happening. But he was keeping him away for the first 2.5, 3 minutes of that round. Landed a big knee. Kind of looked like maybe he rocked Blaydes a little bit. But once Blaydes was able to get him to the ground, nothing really happened. Overeem went for a heel hook, but he was able to control position long enough. And nothing really happened besides that for him to win that round. Second round, 2 man got the takedown. Couldn't really do anything. But then in that third round, man, he really unloaded on the feet. Took him down to the ground and just busted Alistair open with these brutal elbows. Really brutal ground and pound. And for Curtis Blaydes, man, he's only 27 years old. Now his back-to-back wins over Mark Hunt, Alistair Overeem. And man, he's one of the best heavyweight prospects I've ever seen, and I've got to say that. I mean, really incredible. Great cardio, great pace, great takedowns, obviously. Very young guy, incredible chin, man. He was getting rocked with some of those knees, got hit with big knees to the body as well, and was able to push through, was able to persevere, and thought he really fought a great fight. For Alistair Overeem, man, it's tough, man. It's like he's in a weird position now because it's like, what is he fighting for now? Obviously, maybe he fighting for a paycheck. With the heavyweights, you never know. They could have another resurgence, but very tough to imagine Overeem getting back in that title type contention. And I don't know, man. At this point, I don't really know what's next for Alistair Overeem. And for Curtis Blaydes, they did say that he called out for a title shot. So I don't know if that's necessarily what's next for him, but maybe the winner of Francis versus Derek Lewis. I would love to see that. Who knows, man? Maybe one more fight for Curtis Blaydes, and if he gets a win there, I could see him getting a title shot. And up next, Mike Jackson against Phil Brooks, and man, this was kind of hard to watch a little bit. I thought that first round, honestly, you could have given it to CM Punk because of the takedown. Who knows, man? Maybe, but after that, it was kind of a joke. It was like Mike Jackson was not even looking at it, throwing bolo punches to the chest, just doing stupid shit, just really trying to, I don't know, maybe cement the point that he's way better than CM Punk. But he kind of fucked himself too, because Dana White was kind of pissed about that in the post-fight, but really just kind of, just a terrible fight. And CM Punk, just horrible striking, terrible takedown. I mean, he's just obviously very amateur, very raw. And for Mike Jackson, he did have some fluid striking. Really, you could tell that he was just on another level, physically and, technically as well. And just, I don't know, whatever. And up next, Tai Tuivasa gets Andre Arlovski. And who do you guys think won this fight? I want you to put it in the comments here. But that first round, it was kind of a close round, but Arlovski did get hit with some big shots. He tried to go for a trip takedown, got caught underneath, had Tuivasa in the mount on him for quite a few, probably a couple minutes, but Tuivasa wasn't able to get any damage off. Eventually they got stood up. Arlovski was kind of winning the end of the round, but definitely was around the Tuivasa there. That first round was very clear. Second round, very clear round for Arlovski. Arlovski put a lot of damage on Tuivasa that round. Looked really good, man. Arlovski was taking some big shots. Chin his back, man. Was landing his jab. Pumping head-body combinations. Just looked really good. I was really surprised how good Arlovski looked on the feet. Really was crisp. Really was nice, man. Really looked a lot better than he has in a long time. And I actually gave the fight to Arlovski, man. I gave him the second and the third round. Thought that he did a little bit more damage in that fight, man. I thought he did a little bit more damage in that second and third round, but definitely was a close fight. They gave it to Bam Bam Tuivasa, but I feel like that underdog pick that I had on Andre was a pretty good pick because the fight ended up being extremely close. And then to close out that parlay that I was talking about with Holly Holm against Megan Anderson, I had Holly Holm as the most confident pick as well as the second leg of the parlay, which she was able to come out and get a dominant performance. Maybe not in the way that we thought. I did say in the breakdown video that Holly Holm showed some, great skills or great kind of initial skill sets against Chris Cyborg where she was able to muscle her in the clinch, was able to control with double underhooks. And I said if she was able to add some offense to that could be another wrinkle in her game. And, that's exactly what we saw happen. She was putting her in the clinch, but this time she was landing knees, landing shots. She was going for that single leg, going for the body lock clinches. Holly was looking like a wrestler out there, man. Really put a lot of work in her game and just schooled Megan Anderson, man. Dominated her from start to finish. 30-26 on 2 scorecards. And she called for a title shot against Amanda Nunes. I don't necessarily think she deserves that title shot, but I do think that she probably is the front runner for it. And, for Chris Cyborg, that was kind of a tough loss for her because now it's kind of puts her in a weird position. Who is she going to fight next? Megan Anderson was always the girl calling out Cyborg after she'd get these wins, saying, fight a real, what's it called? I can't remember their division right now. Fight a real 145 or all that stuff. And, featherweight, I'm sorry. And eventually she ended up getting dominated in this fight. So now it's kind of like Holly Holm wants to go to 135. Megan Anderson's eliminated. Who knows for Cyborg, but we'll see what happens. Maybe she can fight the winner of that Holly versus Amanda fight. And up next we had Colby Covington against RDA. And, kind of what I thought exactly, man. Colby Covington was able to get on those legs, get him against the fence, control position, really kind of be the guy engaging the fight, the guy leading the dance. And RDA was just way too comfortable moving backwards, man. Way too comfortable getting caught against the cage, in my opinion. I thought he did some good work. I thought he won the first round with his body punches, knees, big shots in the clinch. But he was always the one getting pushed back. And, to judges, that's always a bad sign, man. They're not as educated. And they see you getting pushed against the cage. They see you always the one backing up. More than likely, 9 times out of 10, you're losing that decision. But I did think that Colby probably won that 3-2. Very fair and square. Thought that it even could have been 4-1 Colby. Really thought that, his pace was unrelenting, man. Never got tired. Actually showed some pretty good kicking technique in that fight. Much better than I thought. I actually thought RDA should have went to that double leg much earlier in the fight. And, if he was able to actually get that double leg surprise and hold position, but never really was, And after when Colby saw that he kind of transitioned to the wrestling heavy game plan, he was able to deny those entries, kind of start winning those scrambles, wrestling scrambles. And, RDA was able to stun him a few times, land some shots that kind of looked like they had Colby a little bit hesitant, especially to the body. But I did think, Colby was able to take rounds 2, 3, and 5. And in that 5th round, man, really what more could you ask for from a guy like Colby? He came out, dominated that 5th round. really showed that he wanted it more than RDA there, had more gas. And, he sets up that fight now with Tyron Woodley, man. And like him or not, man, he's making noise. This could be a huge fight. This could be one of the biggest fights in UFC history, especially if Colby could get to Donald Trump, put that belt on his desk like you said, all that stuff, make it really like a MAGA thing. It could potentially catch on, man. Tyron Woodley is like the perfect foil for that. He's a perfect foil for that, make America great again type thing. And who knows, man? That could be a very big fight. And up next for the main event, Robert Whittaker against Yoel Romero. And, what a fight, man. One of the best fights I've ever seen, in my opinion. That round 3 probably could have been one of the greatest rounds in UFC history. The ability to survive those rounds 3 and rounds 5 by Robert Whittaker is just tremendous, man. I don't know about any other middleweight in the, ever that's ever fought in MMA. I don't know if any other middleweight could take those shots, take that round 3 and round 5 from Yoel Romero, especially round 3, man. That was a crazy round. Yoel Romero was literally showing absolutely zero respect for Robert Whittaker striking that round 3. He was walking him down like he wasn't dangerous at all, man. He was walking through all his shots. He's just a cyborg, man. He ate that head kick, was just like, but man, 41 years old, and I really feel bad for Yoel Romero, man. I feel like Illinois kind of fucked him, especially since Dana White in the post-fight press conference of his, he confirmed that the commission stopped him an hour early with his weight cut, where he only had 3.2 ounces left to cut, 0.2 pounds. That's nothing, man. He could have cut that in 5 minutes, and they stop him. And, I don't know how one of those rounds was in the 10-8. If you want to say that it's a draw, you want to say that Whittaker got that 4th round, or the 4th round exactly. But I don't know how you can have that round 5 at 10-8. I actually had Romero winning 3, 4, and 5. 4 was a very, very close round. If you gave it to Whittaker, I have no gripes with that. But I thought it was a very similar round to a round we saw a few years back with John Jones versus Alexander Gustafsson, where Alexander Gustafsson, round 3 against John Jones, dominating the round with volume, not dominating the round, but winning the round with volume, just like Whittaker, landing more shots, controlling the pace, controlling the round. And then the very end of the round, John Jones was able to land some big shots, really wobble Alexander Gustafsson, having a little bit of trouble, and all 3 judges gave that round to John Jones. But in this fight, same thing happened. Whittaker controlled the round with volume. End of the round, Whittaker got rocked. Romero had his moments there. At the end of the round, landed 2 big shots, had Whittaker in a little bit of trouble, and judges decided to give that round 4 to Whittaker on the volume. So, you can't really say anything about that, but I don't know how, especially with the new scoring system there in Chicago, how you could not give it 10-8 in round 3 or round 5 to Yoel Romero. At least give it a draw, but in my opinion, I had it 48-46 Romero. I had round 3 at 10-9, round 5 10-8, round 3, 4s, and 5 all went to Romero. And put down in the comments what you guys had for these fights, man. There's a lot of questionable decisions, especially the Romero Whittaker fight. That's the fight that I most want to hear from you guys. Who you guys think won? Put that in the comment section. You think Yoel won? You think Whittaker won? And what do you want next? Do you want to do do you guys want to see a Whittaker Yoel 3? Do you guys want Yoel to go up to 205 fight against Alexander Gustafsson? Do you think Yoel should try to go back to 185, fight someone else? What do you guys think? And for Whittaker, what do you want Whittaker to do next? Obviously, he broke his hand. Probably going to need a little time off, but, props, hands down, one of the best fights I've ever seen. Props to both those guys. Both warriors, man. And, great card. Really epic event. Great event. Got to close the door on that UFC 225. And, we won 6 in a row now. 6 in a row for the Parlay of the Week. 6 in a row for the most confident pick. So, that's great. We're doing an awesome job. Hope you guys are tailing the picks. At least maybe a few of you are winning some money there. So, Hopefully I can help you out. This week we're going to be doing the Dana White Contender Series Episode 1. And I'm going to do a Parlay of the Week and a Most Confident Pick, but I'm not going to include it in the streak just because there's only 5 fights and, it's not a real UFC event, so I'm not going to include it. But for the first fight, it's Will Santiago Jr. against Kevin Holland. And, I've been hearing about Kevin Holland for a while now. He's a real flashy guy. He's really like a arrogant guy. He's the type of guy that likes to really showboat in the cage. He's been talking a lot of shit in this fight in the lead up, saying it's going to be the easiest fight he's ever had. For Will Santiago, he's a guy fighting out of Jackson Wink. And, he's won 2 in a row himself, but definitely a smaller middleweight here. He's actually fought at 170 quite a few times, and even at 170, doesn't look like the biggest 170 either. And Kevin Holland's a big guy, man. 6'3", 81-inch reach. He's going to have a 11-inch reach advantage here in this fight. And it's really going to be, a big guy fight against a small guy. But Will Santiago Jr., he's a fun fighter to watch. He's an explosive KO artist. Definitely has one-punch power in his right hand. Short and compact welterweight, very powerful. Dangerous in round 1, has a lot of quick first-round knockouts. Likes to stay on the outside till he explodes in with his right hook, right uppercut, right overhand. Definitely right hand happy, and his right hand's what has the big power and what he really searches for. Doesn't throw many kicks or many left hands. He will pile the left hand out as a rangefinder, come over top with the right hand. He isn't super technical with his striking, but he is explosive, and he can finish the fight with one punch. He can't get caught coming in because he's a bit obvious, really loads up. And I haven't seen him take fights to the ground or defend takedowns much. Doesn't throw many kicks or punches other than his right hand. He's a rough guy, a tough guy. He's training out of Jackson Wink, so I think he will be ready for this matchup. And Kevin Holland's a huge guy, like I said. He says he's walking around about 210 pounds. He's going to have an 11-inch reach advantage for this fight. And this is definitely going to be a hard fight for Santiago, but Santiago's going to want to get inside, land one of those right hands, and if he can, anything can happen, man. He can knock him out. For Kevin Holland, like I said, he's been talking a lot of shit, being very disrespectful to Santiago, saying it's the easiest fight he's ever had, but it's kind of his personality. He does that to everyone. He's a showman in the cage. He'll talk a lot of shit. I've seen him talk to the crowd in the cage. He does a lot of silly things, man. I've seen him tickle someone's feet in the middle of a fight. Just always try to get you off your game. And he has great confidence, great composure in there. Stays very calm. And extremely long, 81-inch reach. Uses it fairly well. Has a lot of front leg techniques. He'll throw his front leg to the body, front leg to the head. Very fast kicks. Good straight punches as well. But he can be a bit loose and open with his defense, get countered. He will close the distance with a right hand, get in the tie clinch and load with knees and elbows. He has nasty elbows in the clinch. He had a spinning back elbow KO. And he's a Travis Lutter brown belt as well, so has some good ground game. He's a solid body locks, good ground and pound. He'll throw hard punches standing in your guard due to his length. He can land big elbows. Dangerous with the submissions, nasty guillotine, good triangles, nice leg locks. He'll sweep with omoplatas, very active off his back or on top. Kind of gives him an interesting wrinkle, because he's a long striker, but then again, he has the jiu-jitsu to back it up. He has good cardio, a solid chin, but his cardio is kind of the questionable thing about him. If you really push the pace on him, he does get a little bit tired. All of his wins are by finish. He's never been finished by strikes himself either, so definitely is a finisher with a good chin. He has been submitted one time, but it was by a very high-level guy, especially in jiu-jitsu, and Rafael Lovato Jr., one of the best jiu-jitsu artists in the world. And he's some good wins, fought some high-profile fighters. Has a win over Jeff Neal, a UFC fighter, a close decision loss to another UFC fighter, Curtis Millender. Holland's definitely a safe pick here, more ways to win. Will Santiago can get a first-round KO, but find that very unlikely. And due to that, I'm going to go with Kevin Holland to win via second-round submission. I think he's going to hurt Will Santiago on the feet, and Santiago's either going to go for a panic takedown, or Kevin Holland get a drop of him, get him on top, and get the finish there in that fight. And up next, we have Rico Disciullo against Montel Jackson. And can't really give you guys a a great pick for this fight, but because I could not only see one fight against Rico Disciullo. If anyone has more tape on him, please put it in the comments. Please send it to me. But couldn't see much out of him. But Montel Jackson looks like an athletic guy, good power, but still pretty raw. Tall southpaw, bantamweight, 5'10". Fighting out a pretty good camp, Pure Vita, BJJ. Zach Otto fights out of there. He's only 5-0 in MMA, went pro less than a year ago. Stands tall, he's flat-footed. Very nice kicks though, throws nice inside-outside leg kicks, nice body kicks. He could drop you with the head kick as well, I've seen him do that. Good 1-2, nice straight left hand. He'll throw the right hook, pretty good hand speed, pretty fast. Nice knees and elbows in the clinch. His wrestling is improving, but he has bad jiu-jitsu. Can get caught on top, isn't confident with his jiu-jitsu, so he'll just hold position. Doesn't do much damage if he gets the top position. His takedown defense does seem to be improving though, and he recently had a nasty knockout with Travis Brown type elbows. And this is going to be the fourth fight in 6 months, so I'm not sure if that's going to be a positive or a negative for him, but he could be in shape, ready to go because of that, or could be worn down and just taking the opportunity. So who knows, but take that how you want it, 4 fights in 6 months. And for Rico Disciullo, he's going to be 31. He's going to be the older guy here with the more experience. 10 pro fights. He's training out of Team Sichidong. So a very good camp there in Massachusetts. Actually, a lot of those guys from this camp are fighting out of that Massachusetts area, or out of this for this card. And Disciullo has quite a bit of fights, man. A lot of amateur fights, a lot of pro experience. Been getting some finishes. He's fought definitely the bigger names, but both these guys have not fought the best competition, to be honest with you. And like I said, can't really give you a confident pick on this fight because I've only seen one Rico Disciullo fight, and it was from I think 2014. And so I'm gonna go with a pass on that fight. But I did give you guys a little bit of a background, I guess. And up next, you have Greg Hardy against Austin Lane. Two former pro football players in the NFL going out of here, man. So definitely two athletic big guys, and definitely real big guys. Greg Hardy obviously has a checkered past. Some people don't really want him in the UFC, but definitely as a talented athlete, can't deny that. 6'5", 265, cuts to the weight class, 80-inch reach. And for Austin Lane, he's a former Jacksonville Jaguar himself. 6'6", 240, 80-inch reach as well. So these are two big guys, man. And like I said, Greg Hardy is a disgraced football player, but man, bro, he was a all-pro. I mean, NFL all-pro, NFL Pro Bowler. So that's the cream of the crop for highest of the high-level athletes. And he's training at ATT, 3-0 in 3 amateur fights. And, he's an elite-level athlete, like I said. So he instantly becomes one of the best athletes in MMA for a heavyweight. Still very raw, but he's shown some explosive power in his shots. Good speed for a heavyweight. You could tell he's taking this seriously, learning, because it doesn't just come out and bum rush his opponents. He's shown some improving striking technique and won his fights with that. He's a decent right hand, likes to throw the 1-2. And his straight right has knockout power. He will throw hard leg kicks. He's throwing high kicks as well. His kicks are sloppy. He needs to keep working on his fluidity. He did a good job of landing the 1-2, stepping back and landing the straight right again to knock his last opponent out. And I haven't seen him take anyone down or get taken down yet. He's still raw with his striking defense. He can pull back with his chin high, asking to be countered. Doesn't bring his hands back to his head after he strikes sometimes. All 3 of his fights have been KOs in under a minute, and they've all been amateur fights. This is his first professional fight. And he should know how to push and compete, being an all-pro NFL-level football player. But we've yet to see what he does when he faces adversity in a fight, when he gets taken down, when he gets hit clean. He's had no prior combat sports experience before starting his MMA career. Not like he was a former wrestler or anything. So he's only been training for 2.5 years. Austin Lane is 2-0 in MMA. He's a former NFL player too, playing 4 years in the NFL as a defensive end. 6'5", 240. And both these guys have similar frames. Hardy was the more successful football player, but that doesn't mean he'll win the fight. Lane looked powerful as well, but a bit more technical than Hardy. He has more fluid movements on the feet. Doesn't pull back like Hardy. Throws better combinations. Nice leg kicks. Will throw kicks early and often. He has power in his hands. Has won all his fights by knockout in round 1 as well. He also doesn't keep his hands up. He can leave his chin out there when he's throwing combinations. He definitely gets too excited when he sees you hurt. Just starts to unload with no defense. Chin straight up in the air. Definitely can get countered and knocked out. And we haven't seen his chin tested or him face any adversity either. I haven't seen him on the ground. He's been fighting since 2015. He's had 9 fights, including amateur fights, to Hardy's 3. So definitely he's going to have more fights. And this isn't a confident pick, but I'm going to go with Greg Hardy. He's had a better camp, trained with better guys. I think the team will have a good game plan. I think he's going to be able to go out there and execute it. Hardy's nowhere near UFC level. Neither is Lane. So I don't really see the reasoning for having these guys on the show other than Hardy getting him some exposure. If he wins, maybe he can return to the Contender Series. No way he gets in the UFC at 1-0 in my opinion. But I think ATT is going to have Hardy wrestle, get this fight to the ground. And I think he's going to be able to do it and get a first round ground and pound KO. But like I said, not extremely confident in that one. And up next, Chris Curtis against Sean Lally. This could be my most confident pick of the night here. I'm going with Chris Curtis. And Chris Curtis is the most experienced fighter on the card. 18-5. Definitely paid his dues on the regional scene. Won his share of titles. His last 4 fights, they've all been title fights. Scheduled to go 5 rounds. He's gone the full 5 last 2 fights. So his cardio for a 3-round fight should be on point for sure. Trained out of Team Quest. So he's at a great camp. Sam Alvey, you always see him in his corner. And Chris Curtis is a very good boxer. He has a hands-down stance, likes to pressure forward, get you to throw, counter your shots. Does a great job of rolling with the punches and kicks, using good head movement to avoid the shots. He's a southpaw, great jab, great straight left hand. He has nice hooks to the body. He throws very sharp technical punches. Doesn't load up or get himself out of position trying to throw hard to finish the fight. Always very balanced, very composed. He doesn't throw kicks, doesn't go for offensive takedowns, so his full game is really boxing, takedown defense. He's calm in a war, does a great job finding openings in the pocket to rock you with short hooks. He has big power with his punches and can rock you with one shot. But he's very economical with his offense. Due to that, he gets stronger as the fight goes on. He has been hurt, came back to finish. Definitely has a good chin. Only been finished 1 time in his career by submission. Never been finished by TKO or KO. He's won 5 fights in a row. 4 of those fights have been title fights. So he should be riding high coming into this matchup. And for Sean Lally, much less experienced than Curtis, but he's still a hard-hitting guy. Only 7-2, but he's still very raw, but he has good confidence, walks you down for the finish. Very stiff striking, loads up on everything. Very slow telegraph striking. He'll throw the jab, go to the body with it as well. Likes to throw a lead left hook, overhand right. He can get very overhand right happy, spam the overhand right over and over. He will kick a bit to the legs and the head, but he's slow and sloppy with his kicks. He doesn't move his head, can't get hit with shots when he comes in. He'll go in the clinch, try to wrestle if he's losing the stand-up, but his wrestling isn't that great. Curtis's is definitely better. This is an easy fight for Chris Curtis, in my opinion. He should easily avoid the bombs, be cleaner, and piece Lally up. I've seen Lally drop with a jab in his last fight. He won his last fight by decision, which I think it was a fight that he clearly lost. He got dominated in the stand-up by a slicker striker, and Curtis is even slicker than that guy. Curtis will win by second round TKO. Definitely think this is a good play for inside the distance as well, guys. I think a lot of these fights are going to be inside the distance because they're obviously trying to get a contract. This is, impress and get in, so they're going to be pushing, trying to get the finish, and I think that's going to be a big trademark here for these Contender Series fights. They're going to be a lot of action, have a lot of finishes, a lot of high-paced fights because guys are trying to impress Dana White, And for the main event, we have another kind of fight that I'm pretty confident in. If I was to give you guys a 2-leg parlay, it would be Alonzo Menifield and Chris Curtis, but I think they're probably going to be, pretty good favorites. But, Alonzo Menifield is an extremely athletic Muay Thai striker with big power, very clean with his technique, nice inside-outside leg kicks, very aggressive, comes forward with heavy punching combinations, nice check hook, nice jab, straight punches. He has fast hands. He's always throwing more than one. Nice uppercut, nice high guard, athletic. Usually spooks his opponents with his power early, gets him hesitant on the feet, then has his way with him. He doesn't move his head. He's always coming in on straight lines too, so can get countered. and hurt by that potentially. He is powerful in the clinch. He has good knees, throwing nice elbows off the break, but he isn't a great grappler yet. He has good strength, but he has questionable takedown defense. Doesn't have much off his back. He was taken out multiple times by Daniel Jolly on the Contender series in their fight, but he didn't take any damage. Definitely needs to get better at knowing where he can win the fight. He'll go in the clinch too much when he has a clear striking advantage. But he definitely is a freak athlete. He should be getting better time in and time out. He's only been fighting pro for 3 years. And his opponent, Deshaun Boatwright, is even less experienced, only 3-0. And he's also 4-3-1 in amateur MMA, so that's kind of a salty record a little bit. But Boatwright has been fighting MMA longer, but he's been much more inactive. He's been a pro since 2015, but has only had 3 fights. And Boatwright hasn't fought since December 2016, so he's coming off a 1.5-year layoff coming into this fight. And he's never fought someone with a winning record. This is going to be easily the best person he's fought. In my opinion, he's a small 205er. And in his last fight, he was really just a pure wrestler. Did basically no striking at all. Just got in on legs, got in the clinch, went for singles and doubles, laid on top. Little urgency on top, looking for ground and pound submissions, just laying on him. Got stood up multiple times. He has no power on his ground and pound, very little. He did keep a good pace, was able to wrestle for 4 rounds. It was a title fight. He has little to no striking in that fight. He'll fake low, throw overhand right, get to the upper body clinch. But has really poor setups, poor entries in that fight. Doesn't set up his wrestling with the striking. And it was a bit weird because I've seen in his other fights, throwing some solid kicks, has some decent power in his hands. They were all in amateur fights. It did look like when he got hit, he would get a little bit spooked. Didn't like getting hit. And, I was only able to find his latest pro fight, but that was the fight where he's doing all the wrestling. It was his most recent fight. And he's fighting a guy who was 1-3, so it's not like he was an elite striker. And he seems like the less dedicated fighter, worse athlete here. Should be an easy fight for Menifield. I do think his wrestling could be a problem, though. And if he comes in looking better than he did with time off, 1.5 years, he could potentially shock us here. But I definitely have more faith in Alonzo Menifield to deny the takedowns. Be stronger in the clinch, eventually find the KO in round 2. All of Menifield's finishes are by KO. Definitely is a brutal finisher. Big, huge power. Kind of reminds me of a better version of Khalil Roundtree. Cleaner striking, but kind of the same power, kind of same menacing striking. And for Menifield, I'm going to go with Menifield to get the victory here. And, that concludes the 5 fights for the Contender series. So hopefully we can win some money on that too, keep it going. Might do the one for next week. I'm not sure yet. More than likely will if I get enough people watching this video, enough people commenting. And, please subscribe, guys. Please, keep it going with the subscriptions. I really enjoy when you subscribe, comment, and all that. And, keep on watching the videos. We've won 6 in a row. I'm going to try to keep it going. We're going to have this good momentum going into the summer. So, thanks for watching, guys, and have a good day.